Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we're diving into Radical Honesty by Dr. Brad Blanton. First published in 1993 and updated in 2004, this book challenges the notion that little white lies are harmless. Dr. Blanton, a seasoned psychotherapist trained in Gestalt therapy, argues that frequent small deceptions contribute to broader social and personal turmoil. By adopting radical honesty, he claims we can overhaul not just our interpersonal relationships, but also our sense of self-worth and overall happiness. Radical honesty isn't just a self-help book, it's a revelatory approach to personal liberation. Dr. Blanton, also the author of titles like Practicing Radical Honesty and Radical Parenting, employs his expertise to break down why truth-telling is pivotal. His work extends beyond the page with workshops in Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, emphasizing practical applications of his theories. This book is especially beneficial for individuals eager to enhance their communication skills, couples facing challenges in their relationship, and anyone interested in personal growth. Join us as we explore how straightforward, uncompromising honesty could transform your life. Radical Honesty: How to Transform Your Life by Telling the Truth. Introduction. Why telling the truth could change your life. Imagine a world where every word you say is the absolute truth. No embellishments, no omissions, just raw, unvarnished reality. Sounds liberating, doesn't it? But here's the catch: it's also terrifying. Brad Blanton's book, Radical Honesty, challenges us to embrace that fear and harness it to transform our lives. All too often we weave little lies into our daily existence, whether to spare someone's feelings, to avoid conflict, or to simply make life easier. But what cost does this deceit come with? According to Blanton, the price is our health, happiness, and collective peace of mind. He argues that the stress and anxiety caused by our dishonesty eat away at us, undermining our emotional and physical well-being. But what if you could break free from this cycle of deceit? Blanton offers a compelling directive: stop lying altogether. Yes, completely. This means not only avoiding outright falsehoods, but also abandoning the half-truths and the silent omissions that shape so much of human interaction. Radical honesty isn't just about being truthful to others. It's about being truthful with yourself. Blanton challenges us to confront our deepest fears, desires, and insecurities by exposing them to the light of day. This process is uncomfortable, undoubtedly, but it's also profoundly liberating. Through embracing radical honesty, we not only relieve ourselves of the burden of our lies, but also open the door to deeper, more meaningful relationships. Imagine a partnership where every thought and feeling is shared openly, without filters. The trust and intimacy that can grow from such a foundation are unparalleled. As daunting as it may seem, the journey toward radical honesty promises a destination of greater authenticity and freedom. Are you ready to take the first step? Part 1. Unraveling the grip of moralism on our lives. Imagine floating peacefully in an eternal, timeless state where everything is pure and clear. That's the blissful existence we all once experienced in the womb. Though our conscious memories may not recall it, this foundational experience profoundly shapes our lifelong yearning for such purity. But here's the twist. As we're born and grow, society's norms begin to dominate. Brad Blanton calls this domination moralism, where the mind overshadows our intrinsic being, leading us away from that initial state of clarity and into a world ruled by constructed beliefs and behaviors. Moralism, as Blanton describes, is akin to a chronic condition that slowly deteriorates our genuine selves. This concept shifts our focus from what inherently feels right to what is intellectually deemed appropriate. From childhood, moral lessons are imparted not just with the intention to guide, but often they end up constraining. These teachings, although aimed at safety and societal acceptance, inadvertently instill a fear of stepping outside predefined boundaries. Take the example of Stephen, a young boy who, in a burst of childhood spontaneity, decides to make lemonade. This innocent act turns into a scolding when discovered by his parents. Stephen's natural reaction is one of anger and blame towards his parents, mirroring the very reactions he has been taught to suppress. At this moment, Stephen isn't just engaging in a childish rebellion, but is grappling with the profound impact of moralism, his innate desires clashing with imposed moral standards. This scenario serves as a microcosm of how moralism can distort our natural inclinations and interactions. The concept extends to broader societal structures like law, where professionals often find themselves wrestling to fit complex, unique human situations into rigid legal frameworks. This phenomenon is described through the analogy of the rod and frame test used in psychology. Some people, known as field dependent, perceive reality based on external frames of reference, much like moralists who rely on societal norms to gauge correctness. Meanwhile, field-independent individuals use their intrinsic judgment, aligning more closely with their core being rather than external metrics. In painting this picture, Blanton highlights a crucial perspective. When we live by external frameworks without questioning their relevance or truth, we essentially live a lie. This realization calls us to challenge and rethink the ingrained moralism that dominates much of our life, proposing a life where personal authenticity reigns over conformity. This challenging yet enlightening path promises a return to a more original, unadulterated state of being, one that echoes the purity and clarity of our earliest experiences. Part 2. How our relentless lying damages us more than we realize. It's an uncomfortable truth. Everyone lies. But are you aware just how pervasive and damaging this habit is? From the small fibs to the large-scale deceptions, lying has become a deeply ingrained part of our societal fabric, and its effects are profoundly more damaging than we might initially perceive. From a young age, we are conditioned to conform to societal expectations. During adolescence, a critical period of self-discovery, we often construct an identity that aligns with these expectations rather than reflecting our true selves. This form of lying to ourselves and others about who we really are is not just common, it's almost universal. The core insight here is straightforward yet unsettling. Our tendency to lie profoundly harms us. The process begins innocently enough in childhood, where we are taught to adhere to fixed moral principles. However, as we grow into adolescence and adulthood, these lies evolve. We begin to hide aspects of our true identities, keeping secrets even from those closest to us. This isn't just about avoiding trouble or embarrassment. It's a deep-seated survival mechanism that, paradoxically, threatens our mental and physical health by causing chronic stress and anxiety. Blanton calls the antidote to this pervasive dishonesty radical honesty, which involves a rigorous practice of truth-telling at all levels of our lives. Radical honesty isn't merely about confessing past lies or misdeeds. It's a comprehensive approach to communication and living that challenges us to align our external expressions with our internal truths. This practice of radical honesty unfolds in three distinct levels. Initially, it involves simply laying bare the facts. This could mean opening up about hidden aspects of ourselves or our actions that we've previously kept secret. The relief of sharing these truths can have immediate health benefits, reducing stress and promoting a sense of well-being. The second level delves into emotional honesty, which requires us to express how we truly feel about the experiences and relationships in our lives. It's not sufficient to admit a wrongdoing. One must also confront and communicate the emotional reality of that experience. The deepest level of radical honesty requires a profound realignment of our everyday lives with our true selves. It challenges us to live authentically, acknowledging and expressing our real desires, flaws, and aspirations. For instance, Blanton admits his motives behind writing his book were not only to educate but also to achieve personal recognition and validation, a desire many of us share but few dare to acknowledge openly. Embarking on this journey of radical honesty is daunting. It compels us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and to risk vulnerability. But the reward, as Blanton suggests, is a life of increased integrity, deeper relationships, and greater peace. As we continue to explore these concepts, you'll discover practical strategies to implement this transformative practice in your own life. Part 3. Embrace the discomfort. The transformative power of radical honesty. Radical honesty sounds straightforward on paper. Just stop lying. Yet, when it comes to practicing this in real life, it's considerably more complex and challenging. For instance, consider a scenario where you've betrayed a significant other's trust. In this case, radical honesty doesn't merely involve admitting the betrayal. It demands a full disclosure of all its uncomfortable, intricate details. The premise here is clear and uncompromising. Radical honesty calls for complete transparency, no matter how daunting that might be. This form of honesty isn't about just sharing the basic facts, such as confessing an affair. It's about delving into the specifics, how many times it happened, the emotional and physical details of the encounters, and your feelings throughout the experience. By doing this, you're not withholding any part of the truth, ensuring that nothing is hidden, even if it invites judgment or heightens conflict. This approach challenges the norm of moralism, where discussions often get clouded with evaluations of right and wrong. Instead, radical honesty promotes a language of description. It's not about justifying your actions or bracing for judgment. It's about acknowledging what happened and how it felt, openly and honestly. While this level of honesty is undoubtedly difficult, it can lead to deeper understanding and healing in relationships. More importantly, it can significantly reduce the stress and physical toll associated with maintaining lies and secrets. Radical honesty, in its essence, isn't just a communication strategy, it's a healthier way to live. Our societal attitudes towards topics like sex illustrate this need for greater openness. While sexual topics might not be as taboo as they once were, we still fall short of being truly open about our sexual desires and experiences. At the heart of this ongoing repression lies what Blanton identifies as neurosis, which he defines as a refusal to accept reality as it is. Whether it's about unacknowledged sexual feelings, unresolved anger, or unexpressed grief, these denials are detrimental to our mental health. In therapeutic settings, the same principle applies. Radical honesty is often the recommended path for navigating through mental and emotional turmoil. It involves confronting and accepting all facets of one's experiences and emotions as they are, without distortion. One poignant example of repressed emotion common in many of us is anger. Let's explore how radical honesty can transform our relationship with this powerful and often misunderstood emotion. Part 4. Releasing anger. Beyond repression to healthy expression. It's often portrayed as virtuous to hold back your anger, to suppress it deep within like a soldier heroically covering a grenade to save others. Yet, unlike the soldier's brave act, suppressing your anger doesn't protect anyone. In fact, it can do more harm than good. The core idea here is stark yet straightforward. Holding on to your anger is not an act of noble self-sacrifice, but a form of repression that can be detrimental to both you and those around you. When anger is repressed, it doesn't just disappear. Instead, it festers, building resentment towards those closest to us. You may think you're doing your loved ones a favor by shielding them from your anger, but the reality is quite the opposite. Concealing your true feelings under the guise of protection actually creates distance and mistruths within your relationships. So, what's the alternative? Let your anger out, but do so in a way that is raw and honest. This doesn't mean lashing out destructively, but rather expressing your anger genuinely, without sugarcoating it or making it palatable. An illustrative example can be seen in a therapy session detailed by Brad Blanton. During the session, Anne confronts her husband David about his habitual inattentiveness, particularly highlighting an incident where he chose television over listening to her stressful day at work. In this scenario, both sought validation from the therapist, hoping he'd side with one or the other. However, the critical issue wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about recognizing and validating Anne's anger. Once Anne openly acknowledged and expressed her anger, it not only brought her relief, but also led to a significant personal insight, connecting her husband's behavior with that of her father decades earlier. This realization could only emerge through the honest expression of her anger, showing how such openness can lead to deeper self-understanding and healing. Indeed, there are scenarios where our anger may seem unjustified, like feeling resentful towards aging parents or a crying baby. These feelings aren't necessarily reasonable. Aging and crying are natural processes. But if the anger is there, it should be acknowledged. Restricting these emotions based on what seems morally right only perpetuates personal distress. Suppressing anger is a risky game that can quietly undermine and erode relationships. Rather than cloaking your feelings, choose to share them openly. By practicing radical honesty in expressing anger, you not only liberate yourself, but also pave the way for healthier, more authentic connections with others. Part 5. The critical role of full disclosure in strengthening relationships. Brad Blanton, the author with 5 marriages under his belt, often faces skepticism about his views on what makes relationships work. However, he contends that his experience with multiple marriages and divorces actually highlights a profound understanding of relationship dynamics, emphasizing successful communication and co-parenting even after separation. According to him, the prevalence of divorce isn't the real issue. Rather, it's the quality of relationships that continue without fulfillment or honesty. The essence of his argument is clear. For any relationship to thrive, absolute truthfulness is crucial. This perspective aligns with the philosophy of Martin Buber, who identified 2 fundamental modes of existence in communication: I-you and I-it. These modes reflect different ways of seeing and relating to another person. In I-you interactions, there is a recognition and respect for the other as a separate, complex individual. In contrast, I-it communication turns the partner into an object, leading to a lack of genuine connection and inevitable conflict. Blanton advocates for adopting an I-you approach, encouraging the use of statements like, "I resent you for," or "I appreciate you for." This form of direct, declarative communication fosters a deeper, more empathetic connection, viewing the partner as a whole person rather than an object to be judged or fixed. In practice, radical honesty involves sharing every part of oneself with the partner. Blanton suggests couples sit down and share their entire life stories, including detailed sexual histories, as a way to ensure complete transparency. He even recommends exercises like mutual masturbation to confront and overcome any lingering inhibitions or secrets about one's sexuality. Another exercise he proposes is taking turns to speak uninterrupted for half an hour about their views and feelings towards each other, encompassing both positive and negative aspects. These practices, though potentially uncomfortable, are designed to break down barriers and foster a level of intimacy and understanding that superficial interactions simply cannot achieve. By committing to radical honesty, partners invite each other into their inner worlds, sharing vulnerabilities and truths that bind them more closely together. Loving someone deeply involves integrating our identity with theirs, creating a relationship greater than the sum of its parts. However, without letting our true selves fully engage in this union, the relationship lacks the depth and richness that come from genuine open communication. Thus, embracing full disclosure is not just about strengthening relationships, but is essential for them to truly succeed and flourish. Part 6. Embrace radical honesty by taking charge of your life. In today's fast-paced world, bombarded with constant stimulation, stress has become our constant companion. Our bodies, not designed for this relentless pace, suffer under the strain, and the burden of moralistic views only makes matters worse. How, then, can we break free from these chains and reconnect with our true selves? The solution lies in a bold commitment to radical honesty and personal responsibility. The fundamental step towards freeing yourself from the shackles of moralism and embracing a life of radical honesty is taking ownership of your actions and well-being. Physical and mental health are deeply intertwined, which is why interventions often begin with the body. Engaging in physical activities like yoga or regular exercise not only improves physical health, but also enhances mental clarity, making it easier to connect with and express our true feelings. Adopting a healthy diet further supports this process, underlining the principle of self-care as a form of self-respect. Drawing on an example from John Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes of Wrath, we encounter a character, a mechanic, who blames the world for his misfortunes, largely due to his appearance and lack of an eye. However, he neglects to take the simplest steps towards self-improvement, like maintaining personal hygiene or using an eye patch. This illustrates a critical message. Before we can credibly blame external circumstances for our problems, we need to ensure we've done everything possible to address what is within our control. This narrative extends beyond physical appearance to a broader internal conflict, where our desires clash with our accepted beliefs. Often there's a part of us that desperately wants change, while another clings to the comfort of the known and the traditional. This duality leads to internal strife, preventing us from achieving true peace and fulfillment. The resolution lies in confronting and accepting these internal contradictions without judgment. By practicing radical honesty, we stop categorizing our feelings and experiences as right or wrong, and instead describe them as they are. This approach doesn't just alleviate personal conflict, it also paves the way for more authentic relationships and a more fulfilling life. Ultimately, radical honesty is about facing the truth of our circumstances and our feelings without disguise or distortion. By taking responsibility for our lives and our happiness, we can start making substantive changes, not just in how we view the world, but also in how we interact with it. Through this honest and proactive approach, we find that many of the barriers to happiness and fulfillment are of our own making, and by dismantling them, we unlock a more genuine existence. Final summary. The core insight from our exploration is clear and compelling. From infancy, we learn to construct masks, narratives and facades that we project to the world and even to ourselves. This artifice is deeply rooted in the cultural doctrine of moralism, which dictates how we should behave, feel, and interact. Such constraints invariably distort our true self, the pure being that exists beneath these accumulated layers. The pathway to reclaiming this authenticity is through radical honesty, a commitment to absolute truthfulness regardless of how absurd or unsettling the truth may seem. It is only through this rigorous practice of self-disclosure that we can dismantle the falsehoods that bind us and step into a more genuine existence. By embracing radical honesty, we not only liberate ourselves, but also forge deeper, more meaningful connections with others. This fearless truth-telling allows us to fully express who we are, fostering a life of transparency, integrity, and enriched relationships. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.